Hi and welcome back to Bike Speeds. We've got this lovely giant TCR in which has got a tubeless puncture, and today we're going to talk about some of the hidden costs of tubeless tyres that no one is talking about. So you can see here we've got a puncture that's not sealing. This happens all the time. I see this regularly where the sealant is bubbling out of the tyre, and we're going to replace this tyre and talk you through some of the costs as we do that.
This bike represents the absolute biggest hidden cost of tubeless tyres, and that is that you may not get the tyre to seal with sealant alone or with a plug, and you may have to replace that tyre on a puncture. And that could be straight away. You could have fitted this tyre yesterday, ride today, get a puncture on it that you cannot seal and have to replace that tyre again. That is a massive expense. You can get tubeless bungs that will go in through the hole with a fitting, and they will stop the majority of punctures that you get that aren't then an issue. But if you do have to remove a tyre as we're doing now, it's a considerable cost. Another cost that people often don't consider is topping up the sealant. The sealant has to be topped up every 6 to 7 months or it will dry out in the tyre. So that's twice a year, and also the valve cores clog up. When I do a sealant replacement, I will actually always replace the valve core. Every time you go to inflate a tyre, you're almost tricking it into a puncture in the valve, so they clog up with sealant themselves and will often need replacing quite regularly. So you have the sealant costs, you have the replacement valve costs, and this potential of replacing an entire tyre, especially on road bikes. Not so bad on mountain bikes. You can put bungs in those tyres, and with the grippiness of a mountain bike, chunkiness of the tyre, you won't always really feel that. But on a road tyre, when you put a bung in it, you can sometimes feel those as you're riding. They take a little while to really get smooth enough to ride comfortably without feeling them. So often road bike tyres don't take bungs so well as a mountain bike tyre. You want to also bear in mind that there's a certain amount of labour involved with doing this kind of work. So you can see here I'm washing down the wheel, making sure all the old sealant is off of the bike before I even start to put the new tyre on. So they're very time consuming labour wise. If you're running tubes or any other type of system, the cost of a tube is far lower than the cost of a tubeless puncture when it doesn't seal. They're all well and good the majority of the time, but you will inevitably be replacing your tyre because of a puncture rather than a worn out tyre on tubeless tyres. You can also see here that when I put this tyre on, I generally try to put tubeless tyres onto rims without using any levers at all, but as you'll see here, I just couldn't quite get this final little tuck in, so it was just a case of getting a lever and just popping that over before getting the rest of the tyre on. So we bring that round to the top, we centre that tyre in the rim. Inflating them can be tricky. You can see there I'm using a compressor, compressed air, and I also have an air cannon to really give that pop of air when needed. It's very unlikely you're going to put a tubeless tyre on with a standard pump. You are going to need some form of system to get the air in that as rapidly as possible. And then I'm also topping up the sealant here as well. All of this is not only time consuming from the point of view of the puncture, but from the point of view of getting your bike to a shop, having them solve the problem for you, maybe without the bike, for a little period of time. You have to fit it in around your work and other commitments. Again, it's all costs that just filter down and make tubeless tyres not always the cheapest tyres to run. So you really have to consider when you're putting tubeless tyres onto a bike, not only the cost of fitting them in the first place, but the running costs. They are way more expensive to run on a day-to-day basis than a tubed tyre. With this bike, I'm also just going to clean up the sealant that's sprayed over the frame. Tubeless sealant is very tacky. It will draw dirt to the frame, and then it's quite hard to clean off, so we always clean that off to make sure that that will clean up and freshen up the frame as well. So there's nothing more for me to do with this bike than to get it back together and back to the customer. So on goes the back wheel now, and goes the axle, which I'll also torque up, and then I will also put on the chain. I tend to take the chain off when I'm doing this because I wanted to clean the A-frame as well, and it's just best out of the way as I do the job.
So that's that tubeless tyre replaced, solving the problem with the puncture. We also put the new sealant in there and the new valve core, cleaned up the frame, and that's one of the reasons why tubeless tyres can be so expensive. But we've solved the problems for this rider. So I hope you've enjoyed the information we've given you today. Don't forget to check out our website for the various things that we've used in the video. Like and subscribe to the video, and maybe drop your comments on your experiences maybe with the big blowout that you've had with a tubeless tyre. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.